Welcome to the Spirit of a Badass, where we celebrate stories of courage, hope, and resiliency. I'm your host, Alecia Jacobson. Welcome to the podcast, my beautiful badasses. Today is going to be a great episode and is legit the truest form of resiliency. I like to think that I'm made up of a ridiculous amount of grit, but I truly don't know if I could have showed up like my guest today did. Jamie is the owner and one of the instructors at the Barcode 3rd Ward, a boutique fitness studio in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Jamie is a dog mom and wife. Her studio recently experienced a major flood and they are still recovering from it. Although it's been so terribly difficult, it's made her become a better business owner and she cannot wait to come back bigger, badder, and stronger. Welcome, Jamie.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
I haven't actually heard all of your story, so I'm going to be hearing it with our listeners today. Kind of give us a little of your background, a little of like who you are.
I'm Jamie. I have been born and raised in the Milwaukee area. When I graduated college from UW-Milwaukee, my husband and I moved to the 3rd Ward, and ever since it's been like, we don't want to leave. We just love it here, and we have 2 dogs, golden doodles. They're like our everything. Everyone knows Kona and Layla are just the best. In college, I majored in nutrition, always been passionate about food, exercise, nutrition, all of that realm. And I worked at a startup company right out of college that was like a health tech startup that kind of worked with DNA and nutrition needs. So like kind of like an Ancestry DNA 23andMe situation, but for nutrition versus Ancestry. And that was great. And then I found the Barcode. I was kind of out of my fitness routine and just like going to my basement gym and I don't know, like feeling fine, but never like really satisfied with my workout. And a bunch of my dog mom friends were like, you should come to the Barcode. They either like taught there or just were clients. And so I finally went and I was like, I'm just going to go for one time and see how it is. And that night I was hooked. I was like, I want an unlimited membership. I just loved it all. And I went from thinking I was going to go only a few times a week to like every day. I was like obsessed. And so then I became an instructor a year later in 2020. And again, I was like, oh, I'll only teach a few classes. And then it turned into always subbing, always taking on more things. Then Kyle and I, my husband, got married in 2021. And shortly after, the previous owner of the studio, who Betsy, she owned for 8 years, contacted me and was like, I am wanting to sell and I want it to be you. And that was like a huge, scary moment of like, okay, I have 2 options. I can either decline or take this on where I have no idea of the back end of things. Like I'm going in as an instructor, not someone who has like worked in marketing for her, you know, done things for her. But the more I thought about it, the more I talked through it with my husband, the more I'm like, I can't say no to this. It has to be me. So long story short, I became owner in January 1 of 2022, and it has been incredible. First few months were me, you know, kind of getting my footings and figuring out where I kind of meshed with the team because it was already a very well-run machine, which I'm blessed to have. And then I would say like ever since, I don't know, March, like 2 months in, it's been incredible. Our clientele is amazing. Our community is incredible. The studio is wonderful. The classes are just like badass and amazing. And it's just so fulfilling being an owner. Obviously, you know, it's a lot, but like I say every day, I mean, it's a 24/7 job, which I knew about, but you're wearing all the hats, you know, like you're on a ladder changing light bulbs one day, and then the next day you're teaching a class. Like it's everything. And that's like the fun of it. So I quit my job in June of last year, like my full-time job. And now I've been full-time at the studio ever since. And yeah.
So this is why you're here, your studio and kind of everything that you have experienced as a new business owner. And then as business owners, like it sounds like you were after COVID. We all sort of just got like sucker punched in COVID and
Totally.
Then recovering from it.
Especially the fitness industry. Like,
yes, we had to really, now I hear the word pivot and it like actually makes me, I'm like, oh, I can't stand that word anymore. Like I can't handle that. And then, So then you stepped up and you decided like, yes, this is what I want to do. And then like you dug deep. I have goosebumps just thinking like you dug deep. And tell us like what happened and what was that experience like?
Backing up a little bit, December is when we celebrate our anniversary. like our 8-year, 9-year, whatever it is. This year is 10, which I'm so excited for. And so the first week of December last year, it was, all of the fun. Like at the studio, the energy was so high. We were celebrating 9. It was incredible. And just, me kind of reminiscing of like, holy shit, I like almost hit a year now of being the studio owner, and like, what a ride. Christmas came along. And we obviously don't have classes on Christmas Day. That's like the one day of the year that we don't have class. But I was teaching the 26th, and I was at my parents' house. My CR, aka front desk girl, who was working for me that day, called me at like 8 a.m. when she got there, 8:15 a.m. and was like, Jamie, she was very calm. She's like, Jamie, you need to get to the studio right now. Like, it's not good. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, there's a leak and there's water everywhere. And so immediately Kyle and I got in the car. We drove down to the studio, and I was like on the way there. I mean, we were calling everyone that we could, but it's the 26th of December and it was just Christmas and no one's answering, like the emergency line for our maintenance team and all that. And I was expecting it to be bad, but not what I walked into. It was like a complete crush of my heart the second I walked into the door. It was like a rainforest in a building, just water coming from everywhere. And I didn't even know where to start. It's like you have adrenaline. It's like, okay, do we like put buckets down? Do we pick the mats up? And you just want to do something. But like, it was so, you couldn't do anything to help it. And we didn't even know what the cause was at this point. We were just like adrenaline. We're there doing it. Long story short, we rent and we're on the first floor on Water Street in the 3rd ward. And the 3rd floor, it's like apartments above us. The 3rd floor apartment above us had a pipe underneath the sink burst. And it happened. We looked at our security cameras, and looking back, we kept getting these notifications like there's movement. So we stopped getting notifications, and looking back, if we had those notifications on, we would have gotten yeah. But you can't beat yourself up. It happened. It's whatever. So we looked at the security camera, and about 7 p.m. on Christmas Day, the 25th, water started, like you could see water dripping down. And then, it was 9 a.m., damn near 9 a.m. the next day. So that's 14 hours of straight water. And they think it's because of the cold. It was super cold the days leading up to that. And usually it's like when it's not actually the cold day, it's like the days after the cold day that like the pipes expand and it breaks, which makes all of the sense. So it was just, they turned off the water. Although they turned off the water, it was 3rd floor, so it's residual. So it still came down all day long until the night. And I remember in that moment, I'm like, obviously cancel the classes, like I got to make sure that clients don't show up. So I'm canceling the classes. I'm trying to figure out the studio. And this restoration team was called in, and they came like 2 hours later. They were assigned to us for the restoration. And at that point, I remember telling one of my employees, well, I think it's going to be like probably 2 weeks. Like hopefully after that, we'll be back. And they come in and they're like, and I was dreading asking, but they're like, yeah, it'll probably be 2 months. And at that point, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, no, like we can't do that, and I'm going through all of the motions, but like maybe we can do it virtual, or because we do have a Facebook group that we go live in for classes. And so we could easily like pivot to virtual. Pivot, funny that.
Yes, there it is again.
And so I'm like, okay, we could do virtual, but how long is that going to last? And what if it's more than 2 months and whatever? And so I remember, well, Kyle and I were like, that was the worst day ever. So we like went to the public market and got like a bottle of champagne and just sat there and like cried pretty much. And we were like, what are we going to do? We missed our family Christmas that was going on. Like I couldn't like go and talk to people, I'm like, I can't, I just want to be like alone. We were just kind of game planning on what to do. I was crushed because it was January, and that's when everyone's like, oh, new fitness goals and all of that. So we were closed. However, it kind of worked in our favor that week between Christmas and New Year's is kind of a wash anyways. Like people are out and doing things. So we were virtual from then through, I think we opened up at our temp space January 14th. So like 2 weeks, just virtual classes, whatever. Long story short, everyone was finding out, like on social media, people were posting. I went live on our like very raw. I went live on our Instagram page and just said like, what's going on? I sent out emails to everyone that night. I was getting like, I don't know, just making connections with everyone that I knew. It was kind of like a sink or swim situation. And before I knew it, the news were at the studio, like multiple news stations, just talking with them about what was going on. And at that point, work was being done. And one day I went to the studio and I checked the voicemail, and there was this man who called and was like, "Hi, Jamie, I saw you on the news and I own a building in the third ward and I want you to use it." And I was like, "You're kidding." I'm like, "When can I see it? Like, I want it, like, what?" And so we went like the day after to see it. And instantly I was like, "Yep, this is it. Like, when can we be in here?" Needed very minimal things done. It was like an open canvas, and that's all we need. And I'm blessed to have that versus like if we had, equipment, like treadmills and ellipticals and all that, like we don't have that. It's like props and like, that's it. It's like your body and a mat and that's it. And so on the 14th, we opened up there, literally girl power to the max. We didn't have a single male help us move. Granted, it's two blocks, but like that's heavy stuff to move. Like you're moving body bars, you're moving med balls, you're moving all the props, cleaning everything. Like it was a week of just like grit and drive and like, let's just freaking do this. Like my mom came to the temp space one day and we just like cleaned, because this space is like an old warehouse and it was like just dirty and like no one's been in there. So it was just dusty, whatever. We were cleaning it all day long. And finally it like came to life and it's worked so well for what we need. I mean, not only it being 2 blocks away from the actual studio, so like very little, change for clients, but it's beautiful lighting. It's open. We can fit a lot of people in there, whatever. And we've just pivoted, it's like you bring your own yoga mat now. If you're taking a brawl class that requires shoes, you bring clean shoes. Like there's no mats and we just figure it out. And I just like have to give a shout out to my team and clients for like just adapting. My team no longer has a bar to make routines off of. And that's what we get from our headquarters because we're a franchise. We have bar routines. So we've literally had to change every single thing. You can't use a bar for support anymore. You have to go to the wall or just use your core and support yourself. Clients have had to bring their own yoga mats and figure it out, not on a mat. And it's just everything had to change. Yeah. So we've been in there ever since. And at first I was aiming for like March. I remember circling it in my calendar, March 3rd, let's reopen. Everything was going well at the studio with like, taking down the ceiling and, them communicating with me. And all of a sudden it was like complete silence. And I'm like, what's going on? And I would dread going to the studio because I would just walk in and nothing would be done. It was completely black, dark. There's no lights on. There's no one there. And I'm like, oh my God. And it's because of lack of, workers. They have 1,000 other jobs going on. I get it. But like when it's you, it really sucks, especially when you're hearing it from clients like, what are you thinking? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, and I didn't want to, sugarcoat it. I didn't want to say like, I'm hoping for like, I literally do not know. And so then, another thing is we cut back on classes right away in the temp space because we didn't know what was going on, And so we only had like 3 classes a day versus like 5. And then slowly we like added back in. And I'm so thankful that we did that versus just like going like all in right away. And everyone was very like understanding, which I'm so thankful for. But now we're back to our normal schedule and like, if not better than ever. And so I just can't wait to be back in the actual space. But then like in April, I was like, all right, we got to get moving, people. Like, come on. I'm talking with the team, the restoration team, and I would have tears in my eyes. Like, you guys, I know you're busy, but like, I can't risk losing another client, like I need to get back in here. And clients were getting a little antsy, which I don't blame them. It's April now, And so long story short, the past month has been like balls to the walls. Like every day there's something new done. There's constantly people in there and it's finally coming together. And we've set the reopen date to May 27th. I know. It's like, I can't believe it. And it's funny because when I talk about it to people, I think they understand, but they don't understand like what actually all went into it. And people as in like my family and things like that. And my mom actually came last week to help me with things at the studio. And she heard me talking with all the contractors and she saw all the things, all the moving parts. And she was like, oh my God. And I'm like, yeah, like not only changing my entire business model and like entire business, but also like rebuilding a studio. And it's not just like rebuilding from scratch. I mean, it had to be like taken apart to build back up again, you know? And I'm like, yeah, it's way harder than planning a wedding, like everything. It's like, I don't know if I'll ever have to do something like that again. But I do have to say that, I mean, on day 2 of this whole thing happening, I told my husband, I'm like, I'm a better business owner. Like there's no like explanation. I just like am. I think it kind of has something to do with before it was very like, oh my gosh, something's wrong. I'm going to like go and fix it right now. Or like, this is the end of the world. Now it's like the microphone died. Not a big deal. The door isn't locking properly. Not a big deal. We'll get maintenance to come tomorrow. Like at least we have a studio now, you know, because we didn't have a home base for the longest time. So yeah. And it's just been a journey. Let's just say that.
That's incredible. I mean, I can't imagine what it was like to, I mean, because when you get the phone call, like there's a leak, you have kind of all these things going through your head, I'm sure. And then to actually step foot there and see, it's like, I can't even imagine.
It was like, I mean, I have chills thinking about it. It was like adrenaline mixed with like, oh my God, this is my future and like my livelihood mixed with like clients. Like, what are we going to do? You know, it was like, it was everything all at once. And I was like, we have to make this work, you know, like something, we have to get out of this. And there's been days, oh my God, there's been so many days where I'll like text my husband and be like, I can't do it anymore. Like, I just can't. I'm done. And I think a lot of times the contractors think that I'm out of business. And it's like, no, I'm running a business in a different location because this is not up and running. And I'm figuring out how to open this one up, you know? So it's like, there's so many logistics and so many things going on that there's been so many days where I'm like, when something goes wrong or pushes me over, I'm like, I don't know if I can, you know? But then I see the end of the rainbow, kind of like the gold at the end of the rainbow. And I'm like, okay, I have to. Like, I'm too far into this. I have to, you know, keep pushing. So, and I think it was like the months leading up to April when like things really started moving that I was like, oh my God, like how much longer can I do this? But now I can like finally see everything coming to life there and I'm getting excited again. And I want to go to the studio every day because I want to do things versus like before I was like I said, dreading it. And like, I don't even want to go because it's instant anxiety of like, no one's been working here. And I just feel ghosted, you know? So yeah.
So what is it? Because you have something, there's like, I mean, people call it like the it factor, or there's something within you that takes you from the space of, I can't do this anymore, I want to give up, to no, like there's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. There is like, there is something, and that is a thing. And not everybody has that. So what is that in you?
So that's funny that you say that because, and I don't know if I know the actual answer. There is something, and like people see it in me. For example, Betsy, the previous owner, when she called me that day saying like, I want to be you, she said like, I know it. Like, I know it deep down. And she kept telling me that after the fact too, like in, you know, early last year of me trying to figure out, you know, my bearings with the studio. It's like, she's like, I just knew it. Like there's something in you that like, you can just feel, you can see, whatever. Then also when I was getting interviewed by our headquarters who like works with new owners and whatever, at the end of the conversation, it was like, Jamie, you're it. Like I can just feel it in you. And I think, I don't know, I have to give credit to my family and my parents for like raising me like this. And I've always been like, I had a job when I was 16, like right away when I could work. If I commit to something, I never ditch out of it. Like I'm very, I don't know, my personality is very type A. I want to get shit done. And like, I don't want to fail, you know? So I think that maybe has something to do with it. And just like, I think for this specific example, my community like really shine. Like whenever I would be like, oh my God, I don't think I can do it. I'm like, no, I have to. Like there are people literally depending on me that would literally cry if I ever announced that we were closing. I mean, I had people like messaging, like literally cheering me on, like, and it gives me chills again, like randomly messaging me saying like, Jamie, we're like, you can do this, you know? And I'm like, okay, yes, I can, you know? And it just hits different when it's your clients who like rely on you versus like your family or like my husband, you know, obviously they care and they want me to do well, but like these people are literally like obsessed with the barcode, just like me.
For them to do that, you had to show up in a certain way. Do you know how you
Yeah.
showed up?
That's a good question. And I think I'm a very real person. Like, I don't sugarcoat things. I don't put on like a face. And sometimes I do when I'm like not in the mood to teach or, whatever. I'm like, well, I got to do it.
You have
Whatever.
to.
But like at the end of the day, I don't need to do that 99.9% of the time because I genuinely love that place with all my heart. Even if I am in a bad mood, the second I walk in the door, I'm like, yep, turn it off. Like, here we go. I love it here. Everything else is just in the back of my mind. And so I think like presenting myself during this time, I was very real. So obviously it happened on Christmas Day and we had a like last blast boot camp. We have it every single year. And I was crushed because, tons of people were signed up and I'm like, shoot, what are we going to do? And so I worked with Journeyman Kimpton. It's a hotel like right down the street. And they had us like in their like ballroom area for it in person. And like everyone came. I mean, it was like incredible. We all got like mimosas after and just did a champagne toast, whatever. But I remember bawling after that class. Like, I didn't teach it, thank God, because I don't know if I could have kept it together. But in the back of my mind, the entire class, I'm like, the studio, like, and it was not in good shape at that time. There was so much going on. And like my dad, like took the mic after and just like gave me a little shout out. And it was just like so many emotions. And at that point I could have like just been like, everything's great. Like but I wasn't. I was like, we're going to do this. We're going to get through this. Yes. But it like sucks right now. And I think that's just kind of like my mindset through this whole thing. Like when people were asking like, how's it going? And when it wasn't going well, I'm like, it's going like slowly but surely. Cause I don't want to get people's hopes up. I don't want to sugarcoat it and be like, this is great. Like it has been a journey, like every single day. It's like something new. And that's something that like I love about social media too. And I am very active on social. It's like, I show the progress. I show the realness. Like one day I walked in the studio and my brand new bars that were like thousands of dollars were painted. And like I easily could have glossed over it and like not told a single person besides like my team and like my husband. But I'm like, nope, I'm going to share it with everyone. Like that's what I'm dealing with. Like what? So it's constant like ups and downs. And I just want like them to see it. And I think they're all appreciative of it too, of like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. And like, we're cheering you on again. And like, we understand that it hasn't been 2 months. It's been 5. There's been things that have gone wrong there, So I guess like just being my like true self at the end of the day, whether it's, I'm super excited. And that's how the vibe has been lately of like, oh my God, it can't be the 27th quick enough. Or like, this sucks. And I know it's going to get there, but like right now it's like one day at a time and I can't really do anything about it.
So you show up authentically as who you are in whatever form that you're in. And it sounds like when you have to, because we all do, have to put on that kind of like exterior face of like, I have to get through this moment. But after you get through the moments, you're showing up true and letting other people. And that, I mean, which is, this is why you're here. Like why I asked you, because I could see, like, I saw that in you. And when you do that, like you're then sharing with your clients, like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. Like you too have permission to show up.
100%. That's a really good point. I always say like, come as you are, and like, if you're having like a horrible day, whatever, like there's no judgment. If you don't want to talk when you walk in the door, like that's totally fine. If you want to chat my ear off, sure. But we don't expect you to come in with this like fake face on your, like just be yourself. I don't know. I just feel like I could have easily kind of glossed over it in the beginning. And I remember even like that night when I was sitting down, like crafting the email to everyone, what's going on. I could have easily said like, we're hoping to be back in a few weeks, but I didn't want to get their hopes up. I was like, it's going to be a few months, you guys. Like, and I pray that you are able to stay with us, but I also understand. I don't know. I just feel like there's no point of like making it seem better than it is. Because I want people to be real, so I think they want me to be real too,
Yeah. Well, so. A couple of things that it also sounds like is that one, you have this inner belief of like, I can figure it out. You almost have like this like trust and belief in your own capability to figure it out. And then like you said, like the New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, like you went and found a hotel. You weren't just like, oh, I don't have access to what I know. You were like, what else can I do?
Yeah. What can we do in this horrible time. So we found that actually for New Year's Day, which was incredible. And then we did, when we were closed and like just doing virtual, we did some pop-up classes at this local other gym, which my connections in the community, I mean, Third Ward is incredible in Milwaukee in general, but have like gotten me through this so much. Like everyone, you know, gym owner, anyone, like Lululemon team, everyone was messaging me like, what can we do to help? This other gym owner in the Third Ward was like, he owns a jujitsu gym, so there's mats and everything. It's nothing like the barcode, but it works. It was like, I want to let you use my space on the weekends. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And like, didn't charge me to do it. Like, just was like, come on in. And I remember like loading my car up with like 30 med balls one morning and like shipping it over there. And like, we just made it work. We literally were like, what can we do to keep clients? And at the end of the day, I mean, yes, we lost some clients. I'm not going to like lie about that, but also like, I know we're going to come back bigger, better, stronger when we do reopen. So it's going to be a wash. Like, it's not the end of the day. And I think a lot of time in the beginning, especially, it was like a weird time of the year too, of like people have like different jobs maybe, or like different school schedules. So like, it wasn't like your studio flooded, I'm leaving. Like that wasn't it at all. And I just like thank my community for being so understanding and having that like tight knit relationship with them. Because if I didn't, I feel like people would have been like, okay, I'm going to like go now. Or like, I want to pause my membership. Like we had barely any of that.
So community also, I mean, you had already created, I mean, that essentially like when you own a gym, like you create that community, but yours extended beyond that. And that is like you said, like Betsy, the former owner, and then the people who reached out to you. You clearly have this inner energy that emits so strongly that it's like, I want to support you. And I believe in you. And really, I mean, just talking to you, you believe in you. When it's hard, I've been there. I know, like one of the episodes, I think it was episode 4, I was talking about like, I gave up. Like, I just wanted to give up. And then it was like, wait, no, like I want to be like in a puddle, but wait, I can't actually do that.
And I've kind of found this, like, as I've gone through this process of like, but it's okay though to have those days. Like, I remember there was a day where they were like, yeah, it's going to be another month. And I like got home and I was like bawling, pissed off. And I like sat in my feelings for a second, and like, that's okay. And you should do that. And that's something that I've had to kind of like teach myself is like, you have to stop and realize like, this is a really crappy situation. And like, some days are going to suck and like, you're going to be mad, but also like, then wake up the next day and be like, all right, it's a fresh start. It's a new day. Let's keep going. You know?
You said something I think very important right there. You said, I had to teach myself. So innately you have a lot of these skills already, but that one where like sitting in your feeling, because it's hard when you feel like just awful inside and like crushed, and you have to then know like, okay, I have to get back up. But you said like, I had to teach myself. And that's something that some people like it's like clear you have these skills like innately in you that maybe were modeled as a child and, you know, you've kind of grown up this way, but not all of them. Like you had to learn and teach yourself. So for like those people listening, a lot of this, like you do have to teach yourself. You have to practice. And that's where like when I'm coaching with women, it's like, let's lean into that uncomfortable space just a little bit, like in a really safe way. And then let's keep practicing and leaning into that, because we don't have all of these skills and we do have to teach ourselves.
Yeah. And I think I'm blessed in that I don't know if I would have had to kind of learn these things if this didn't happen. You know, like it's pushed me so out of my comfort zone, so in my feels, so like emotional and chaos. Like that's literally my life, like chaos. Like for the longest time there, I was just like here and there and here and there. And I didn't know what was going on. And it wouldn't have happened if this didn't happen. So, and at the end of the day, I mean, looking back now, I'm like, I still have a great team. I still have an incredible community. I have a brand new spanking studio, like gorgeous. It's okay. Like we'll be okay. Would I ever say it was worth it? God, no, ever, never. Like this should never happen to anyone. But we truly did make the most of it. Like with everything we had month by month, whether it was like barely surviving or finding the temp space and having like a high for a second of like, we can do this, to like getting crushed again from the studio, things happening and not, you know, being worked on, and then now of like the excitement again. It's just been like a literal ride.
Yeah,
So
sounds like a roller coaster there.
literally. And like it was so like, my husband would text me like on a Monday and be like, all right, this week is going to be good. Like we have all these things getting done. And then like Tuesday would come along, I'd walk in and like something would be wrong. And I'm like, it's not going to be that way. And like, that's okay. Maybe next week is the week.
So this is something you experienced it with a flood of your business, but the essence of your story is something that so many women at some point in their life are going to encounter, where they're like just taken out at the knees. What do you want to share with them?
You either have two choices. It's like you sink or you swim. And as easy it is to just like say, screw it, I'm done, whatever, there is like a light at the end of the tunnel. And it's so hard to see it in the moment, but like you have to go. You have to keep pushing. And if you're an advocate for yourself, if you are like so passionate about this thing, or, you see the end of the rainbow, it's so worth it. Like I can't imagine having to give this up and have that be the reason. Something that was so out of my control, which, whether someone's going through a breakup or a divorce or a loss of someone, and whatever it is, makes people have this, situation, or their business floods, or whatever it is, someone runs into their business with a car, like things happen. It's just, you have to keep pushing. And there's people on your side too. Know that like, and especially as a business owner, sometimes it can get really lonely. Even though I have a team of 25 girls, like I still, some days I'm like, okay, this is kind of like, I'm solo, does anyone care or whatever, but they do care. And you just have to like reach out for help, be honest, real, and like authentic with them about the situation. And everyone's on your side.
You're a really amazing woman.
Thank you.
This was just wonderful. I'm so thankful that you are here and sharing your story and your message, because I can't wait to share this with everyone, because I absolutely know that you will like this little drop, this ripple that you have, like it's going to go out. And I'm excited to watch you and what you're doing and how you're opening and all the beautiful things that you'll create.
Thank you. Yeah. It's like now that we can see the end, it's of course in me. I'm like, I can't just like reopen. Of course. I'm like, let's get like cupcakes and champagne and like decor. We're having like a little like cute truck that serves like cold brew on tap. We're just doing it all. Like, let's just make it big, And that's how I am with everything. Like I'm always partnering with the community on things like fun, events. We have like next weekend, we're doing a like bar on the rooftop class outside. We're going to do it like every month. It's just like we were talking about before, it's like in me to like not just do like the basics. And I think it helps that I am so passionate about this thing. Because if I wasn't, I would be like, all right, like class every Saturday. But now I'm like, okay, it's nice out. What are we going to do? Like, who are we going to partner with? Who should I reach out to? Because at the end of the day, like, shoot your shot, And it being in such a local, tight-knit community. I mean, Milwaukee is like it's a city, but it's like so small. Everyone knows everyone. And now it's like, I have so many connections and so many like people on my side that if something does go wrong, or if some idea comes up by my team, like we should do this, Jamie. I'm like, oh yeah, I know someone for that. Like I've set myself up now for that. And it's like, it's just fun. So I'm excited. I can't wait to show it off once it's done and just see like the energy. I mean, the energy has been high through this entire thing, but it's going to be like insane.
Like
insane. Invite your friends and like sign up for class like ahead of time, because it's going to be waitlisted. And like social media for this has been like, and just like sharing progress and all of that. And I'm blessed that my demographic is, like a young Milwaukee living female. And so they are on social. So they're sharing like I'm at the barcode or whatever. And even in our temp space, which at first I was kind of, then this is something I was going to talk to you about. I caught myself in my feels in the temp space after I was so proud and accomplished of it opening. I was like, this is embarrassing. Like I had a few moments there where I'm like, new people would come in and they'd be like, well, where's the bar? And I'm like, oh my God, like, and then I'd come home and I'd be so sad about it. And then I'm like, no, this is better than we could have ever gotten for the situation. I need to be proud, so proud of it, and own it and say like, we've gone through a horrible situation with our studio. And if they're not about it, they're not about it. I'm not going to like
Not your people then.
Totally. You're not my girl, you know? So anyways, social media has been amazing. And I think, people are going to be sharing the new studio and people are going to be saying they're there and whatever. And I hope that like, it just kind of like spider webs, and I know it will. So I'm just excited for like the energy, the new clients, the previous clients. It's just, and like the community is so strong now. Like we literally can do anything anywhere. We don't need the incredible, beautiful, bougie studio that we've proven that now, but that just adds the extra like cherry on top.
Yes.
So
Come to you.
Thank you so much.
The last question, we end with a tip that you have that helps you save time, energy, or resources.
It was really hard for me in the beginning. I felt like I needed to do everything, whether it was marketing, whether it was teaching. I mean, I remember teaching like 9 classes a week because I'm like, well, a class is open. No one's willing to cover it. It's me, which yes. I mean, if there's no one to cover a class, like it's going to be me. Now I realize like take a step back and like let it happen. Like if an instructor wants to teach the class, like go for it. Or now I have like my studio manager doing like so much for me. She's the most incredible human, Sarah, shout out to her. And she just like crushes it. Like she's so good at marketing, so good at social. And I'm like, yeah, I could be the one like go in the background, like creating all the graphics and whatever. And now we've got a system where like I do some things, she does some things, other girls on my team do some things, and it just kind of like comes together. And that's how we can really like grow. And I can spend my, my time, my, energy other places, finding these partnerships with the community, figuring out, building the studio back up and all of the things versus like me being so spread thin. And I think with that, like delegating also comes like boundaries. This isn't like kind of getting things done per se, but another thing is like as a business owner, you're on 24/7, which is fine. But also like, I also have a family. I have other things that I do in life, not just the studio. And so recently, actually, in the past few months, I've put like do not disturb on my phone. And it's incredible of just like setting that boundary, and that I can't maybe get to you right away. I'll get to you in the morning. And if you need me, call me and I'm there in a second, emergency, whatever. So I'd say those 2 things.
Thank you, Jamie. Can you tell everyone how they get in touch with you if they want to?
Yes. So you can message me on Instagram. It's at Jamie Tamboli, JamieTamboli. You can follow our other Instagram, our actual studio page, the _MKE. And we're super active I'm active on mine. We're active on the business, as well as you can email me always. It's thirdward@thebarcode.com. Otherwise, just go on our website. If you are in the Milwaukee area, your first 3 classes are free with us. And we do that because even though we are the barcode, we have boot camp, HIT, brawl, and strength classes too. So we want like people to get, not just take a bar class and be like, I don't know if it's for me. I want people to take like bar, brawl, boot camp and figure out what everything is like. So yeah, you get your first 3 classes for free if you go on our website. And yeah, always feel free to reach out.
Thank you. I am so honored to have chatted with you today. And I'm excited for everybody to hear your story because you are a true inspiration.
Thank you.
All right. We are doing a bonus add-on to the episode that you are listening to. We are catching up with Jamie. It's been over a year since we've last talked, and there has been some life that has happened for you in this year. And yeah. In true fashion, the way you handle things, I'd like you to share that, but also share with us because it can be, even when you have the skills to navigate things and you have resiliency built and you have all the tools, it can still kind of knock you on your ass a little bit and be a little difficult. So share with our listeners, what has happened with you and kind of give us an update and tell us how you navigated this.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Alecia. This is great. It's been a year. So obviously you all heard about my studio flooding and coming back from that. And it was a quite challenging time, but also like make lemonade with lemons, right? And it tested me physically, mentally, all of the things, emotionally. And we reopened last May and we were like all jazzed, things were good. And we then learned, we as in the Barcode, which was our franchise at the time, learned that we were no longer going to be the Barcode. in August. It was August 15th. I remember it specifically. I was visiting a friend in Dallas. I was at a coffee shop with another barcode owner. We were just like catching up and we were like, oh, this call is at the same time. Let's just take it together. And we just thought it was like a recap or something, right? And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I want to be home. I want to go cry, you know? And so long story short, it's been a year since then. It was August 15th of last year. Now it's August 29th. And my world was kind of flipped upside down, not to be like dramatic, but that's what it felt like, especially because I just rebuilt the studio, like with all barcode branded stuff. I was obsessed with it. Whenever you hear some news that you're not expecting, it wasn't like necessarily a bad thing, but in the moment I was like, oh my God, I am overwhelmed. I don't even know where to start. Everything's going to have to change, you know? So long story short, that was August 15th. And I just recently shared on my social media about the whole process because I didn't really like open up about it prior to. It wasn't all butterflies and rainbows, right? Like when you find out about something and then you can't share it with anyone, you're just kind of internalizing it and just dealing with it yourself. And I like to say it was like dealing with all stages of grief. One day I would wake up and just like not want to do anything. Then the next day I'd be like, okay, I think this is going to be okay. And then I would take a bar 3 class and be like, okay, I am 100% in. And then the next day I'd be like, no. So it was always something. And I would say that happened for like at least a month. So I couldn't tell my team. So only like my family, my like closest friends, and then obviously other TBC owners, which the barcode owners, which I am so grateful to have because we were all literally in it together, all 18 of us or whatever it was. And I knew a lot of them prior to this. So it was just nice to like lean on them so hard. I mean, if you looked at my phone records, it was like every day, probably like August through September of last year, I was on the phone for like an hour with someone. Just like, how are you feeling today? What are you? And then it would like motivate me to like also change my mindset, or it would make me upset or whatever it was. So long story short, it, you know, just came to a shock to me just because, I mean, I knew we were a smaller franchise, right? The barcode was only like 23, 25 studios at the time. So we were small but mighty. The biggest thing I think that was hard for me was I didn't know what bar 3 was. I had never heard of it. Maybe I saw it on social media here or there, but I, you know, if they would have said Pure Bar or something like that, I would have known right away, like, okay, I know that brand, but it was like being told you were going to become something that I have no idea what it is. And it was just scary, straight up. But the more I did my diligence, taking classes, visiting, the only other studio in Wisconsin is Madison. So I did some day trips to Madison and like doing my diligence, taking class, talking with that owner. The more I like let myself kind of have an open mindset and learn all the things, I was like, okay, this is where we're meant to be. But don't get me wrong, the first 2 months were really hard. I remember every time I would go to the studio, I'd like look at all of the gorgeous new branding and I would just I was nauseous at the fact of like, oh my God, I have to take all of this down again. And like, that wasn't going to be for like 6 months, right? But in my mind, and I'm a doer, I don't want to be in this in-between phase. Like, I just want to like rip the Band-Aid and get done with it. So then I was able to tell my team in September sometime. That really helped me just like rip it and share my excitement, even though we were still emotional about it. And that was like very fair. You know, we like cried together as well as like got pumped up for the future together. And I think that's like what's brought my team so much closer now. I mean, we're all just like very, very, I don't know, on the same page. We love bar 3. We love the studio. We love the clients. So I told the team and then still couldn't tell clients until October. I was scared. I mean, that was the first thing I think I thought of when I found out about the news on August 15th. I was like, oh my God, this is my livelihood. I have chills now. This is my livelihood. And like, it could just be, I was being dramatic, right? But in the moment, I'm like, this, I could fail because of this. And I bought in because of the barcode. And now I'm becoming something that I don't even know anything about. So I was scared, but I also was so at that point, October, right? I had 2 full months to like gather myself. I was ready. I was ready to share the news. I knew it wasn't going to be like all butterflies and rainbows, but I knew that clients would catch on my energy and the way that I shared it. And I felt confident. I felt really confident, excited, as much as I could be, right? And I also felt, empathetic to them because I found out about this news 2 months prior and I had the feels for like a month at least. And so I expected them to have the feels as well for at least the first few weeks. Long story short, we sent out communication on it and I couldn't have asked for a better turnout. I mean, yeah, there were some clients like, what? Like shocked. Yeah, I figured that was going to happen. But honestly, like they have stuck around and like just embraced change, which is the hardest thing, right? But the only thing that's constant in this world, I always say, everything's always changing. Even bar 3. I mean, even since this acquisition of, acquiring the barcode, we've changed as a brand so much since then as well. So like it's inevitable. But long story short, we told clients, we kind of came up with some like long-term plan because, the questions start coming then, like when are we going to see changes in branding and when are we going to see changes in class formats and all of that. And our home office at Bar 3 is incredible. They like walked us through every single step, made it feel very attainable versus like all at once. Oh my God. I would say the two biggest things for me was, and it would be different if I had an older studio. I wouldn't have cared as much, but the environmental changes like in the studio itself, I was like, this is sickening knowing that like I just spent thousands of dollars on brand new signs and now I have to take them down and buy new ones. So that was like a really big thing to overcome. But then finally I was like, okay, you know what? This is going to be worth it. It's an investment right now. This is not an expense that I'm going to see every year, but it felt like that at the time. I was like, I can't do this anymore. As well as just like clients learning to love the brand, the new brand and the class formats that were coming. So we just dove right in. Obviously, we were barcode certified with like bar, strength, boot camp, brawl, all of those classes underneath. I started training in, I think it was November before all of the other instructors did. And I think me and my mentors went together, like my instructors who like train other instructors. And it was humbling because we were brand new again. Even though we had experience as being a fitness instructor, it was new and it was, change again. But I mean, my team were rock stars. They just like took it with stride and they were like, okay, this is happening. So that was like November through January. And then January is when we started training the other instructors. So it was like half and your half in, half out situation, which I do not miss at all. I hated the like I was saying before, I just like ripping the Band-Aid. And that was very much so like, are we the barcode? Are we Bar 3? It was confusing to us, to clients, new people. And long story short, we ended up getting everyone trained by like spring, as well as I was like, might as well. Hired 4 new instructors as well, brand new. So that was fun. And then studio environment stuff happened. It was just all aesthetic stuff. The signage was like the biggest piece for us just because our studio was, gorgeous, stunning. I like to think of it as the barcode was very like dark and intense. Bar 3 is more like light, bright, airy. We're lucky in the fact that we have like windows in our studio already. And like we were just like blessed with that. And then class formats, we had Signature, which is like their classic bar class. And then a few of us got certified in strength and then cardio. And it's still happening now. We just had a call with our Bar 3 home office, like, I don't know, last week, celebrating 1 year and just like looking back and being like, holy shit. Like we did that, and, it was funny at the end of the call. We're like, so what now? Like, are we fully in? Are we not? Because, and I should have said this before. So Bar 3 we are one of 100 studios. So it is a large franchise owned by Sadie Lincoln herself. She founded Bar 3 16 years ago. We just celebrated. She's incredible. She still owns, she's at the top. And so long story short, we're wondering like, okay, where do we go from here? Are we a full Bar 3 now? Are we not yet? And the answer is we are. I was like, are we really? Because it just takes time to like sink in. Because from then until now, it's been like, you're a little different because of this and because of this. And, you got to get this done first and check off this on the list. And now it's like, okay, we did it. Granted, we've always said just because we weren't original Bar 3 studios, we're just going to be a little different, and that's okay. Like studio environment is a little different, but everything else is the same. And that's what I strive. I always strive to, keep the standards of the brand so that, especially with Bar 3, since there is such a recognition of that brand and knowledge of it, we have a ton of people coming. They're visiting from Florida or they're visiting from New York for work, and they come in and they're like, I'm, a Bar 3 member at West Village. And like, I want them to know that we are the same, even though we look a little different. So yeah, it's been a journey. In that process, I also purchased another studio. So I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. I was saying on my social too, like even though it is a different brand, I am so obsessed with it. I am so obsessed with Bar 3. I love what we stand for. I love our classes to my core. And I just love being like the owner, the operator of this business and seeing how it helps clients and staff and all of the things. So the opportunity arose, I would say in like March of the bar code. It was a bar code becoming Bar 3 in Chicago Lakeview, which is like an hour and a half away from me in Milwaukee where I live. And that's where the Third Ward studio is. And I'm a firm believer in that, like, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. It sounds cliche, but I'm like, let's just see what happens. If something big comes up, like, whatever it is in the process of purchasing, it's not meant to be. And things just kept aligning. And before I knew it, May 6th, we closed on that studio. So now it's been like, and mind you, it was the bar code becoming Bar 3, and it wasn't done yet. So I knew that I was going to have to do this again, this being convert the studio over with all of the studio environment changes, get my team. I mean, they were trained, but like not as far as Milwaukee. I like to say they were like 3 months behind. So like continue the training with the team, all of the things. But I was like, hey, I did it once. Might as well do it again. Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Okay. I didn't realize that part. So that's fantastic. Backing up, when you originally found out and you had to hold that information to yourself and you only had a few people, that is something that people have to deal with often, whether it's a job change, a career change, like location, health issues that they're not ready to share far and wide. Can you give kind of some insight or just anything on what you did and what you would say to do? Because that's a really hard thing to hold and to handle when you're carrying it by yourself.
Yeah. I mean, kind of like I said earlier, I think I leaned on people that could relate to me. So like, I know that, for example, if you're like dealing with a health condition that you can't really talk about with anyone else, maybe you find, whether it's social media or online somewhere, like some group or, I don't know, a few people that have experienced or are experiencing what you're experiencing, because there's nothing better than like, and this sounds bad, but like, it's kind of comforting knowing that like, you're not the only one struggling. And then it kind of motivates the whole group to be like, okay, we got this. Honestly, I mean, I also leaned into like my loved ones a lot, but there was also like so much they could do, right? They didn't fully understand. It wasn't like on their shoulders as much as it was on mine. Like I felt like this heavy weight that I was like, oh my God, I have to do this. So yeah.
Thank you. You're just thriving. I mean, the fact that
it feels really good.
Yeah. I mean, you got this new. Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 28.
Okay. I mean, the fact that you have conquered all of this by the age of 28 and you have built this resiliency and then are now like, you know what? I'm not only going to do this one, I'm going to buy me another one and I'm going to flip that one over too. Like, just thinking of who you are going to be and what you're going to give to the world over your lifetime I'm excited to watch it play out, because when I saw your post, I was like, damn girl, here you are doing it again. You're doing it again. And it's like, you have such a gift and you are such an inspiration to people to just hold strong and do the hard thing and then come out the other side just shining bright.
I talk about this with my therapist often of like enjoying where you are in the moment, but also like looking forward. And there are times in my life where I'm like, I'm content right now. But then there's times where like things pop in and it's like, if like I was saying before about, Chicago Lakeview, like if it was meant to be, it's meant to be. And then here we go. We're getting uncomfy again and we're doing it again. Like you don't know until you try. And then you like don't get me wrong. It feels good right now, but in May and June, when things were in the thick of it in Chicago, it was tough again. And I felt like, oh my God, why did I do this? Kind of like getting like when you have one dog and you get another one and you're like, I'm comfortable. And now we're getting another one that I have to potty train and I have to, I have two dogs. That's why I'm saying that. But, you're like, I'm good. I'm sleeping in and now I'm going to have to wake up early again and deal with accidents. Like that's exactly how I felt in the moment. But then look at us now. It's almost September and like things feel really good. Granted, there's obviously hard days, easy days, bad days, good days, all the things, but I don't know. I love it.
Yeah. Congrats to you. Congrats. It is really wonderful watching your world kind of unfold in front of you and how you navigate that for everyone. It's really beautiful. So thank you for being so open and sharing your gift with us. And we'll tag the new studio. We have the other one and we'll have to do both of them because they're both different now. So we will tag those here also if anybody would like to check them out and you're in the Chicago or Milwaukee area.
Yeah, we'd love to have you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamie.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Spirit of a Badass is a Lit Path Studios podcast and is produced by Jamie Gale and Alecia Jacobson. Music by Shane Ivers. We'll be back with another inspiring interview. Until then, keep your spirits high and your energy badass.